Come on into the earth, church. Reverend Billy here, trying to preach for the planet. But right now, things are just falling apart. I was going to invite you up to the pulpit here. I just need to be with somebody who also doesn't know where they are. I want you to be with me and hear me because I don't know who I am or where I'm going. And I need to reach out to people who just feel the vertigo of placelessness, the tsunami of randomness that will lift us up from the pulpit and break through the vault of this cathedral and fling us into space. We'll fall to our death, or we'll fly to our temporary evolved life.
Hallelujah! 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 Hallelujah!
Climate changed me when I lost my only job. Climate changed me when my mom began to sob. Climate changed me when the storm tore off the roof. Climate changed me when the sky told me the truth. Well, I always knew that I would have to change. But do I have to die? Die to change, 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 change.
Human cause climate change. Climate cause human change. Human cause climate change. Climate cause human change. Human cause
Climate change me. Climate change me. Are you ready for the change? We need a change now. But change is gonna come. When I lost my only job, when my mom began to sob, when the stars are off the roof, when the sky told me the truth, so change. When the flash makes scream, when the drought dries up streams, because it's underground, the springtime makes no sound.
When the last living thing has died on account of us, how poetical it would be if Earth could say, in a voice floating up, perhaps from the floor of the Grand Canyon, it is done. People did not like it here.
Federal weather officials say last month was by far the warmest March on record for the continental U.S. Data out today showed the average temperature was 50.9 degrees Fahrenheit. That's more than 9 degrees higher than the 20th century average, which officials use as a benchmark to measure present-day temperatures.
Want to now talk about the hot temperatures that are just baking the Southwest right now. Out in Arizona and California, they have hit the century mark, and we all know come June and July, well, we'll be hoping to be only 102.
The time of year that always has the highest stress on the grid is always just the hottest day of the year because so many people are using AC. And so then the AC is liable to go out.
What happens if there's another extreme weather event, if you have a tropical cyclone that comes in, wipes out power?
In all of my years covering wildfires, I have never seen anything quite like this. I mean, home after home in iconic Malibu destroyed. There are more homes on fire than men and women that can get to them.
You guys, the wind here is unbelievable. You just heard Dallas talking about how strong these gusts are, and I can tell you, we are experiencing them firsthand. We just had a gust, literally just a couple of seconds ago, that I'm going to say is probably around 50 miles an hour, if not more. Duncan, my photographer, we both had to hold on to each other just to stand up in the wind. It sounds like a freight train is coming through the trees here.
Nothing is worse for the earth than war. When you see those pictures from Gaza, Iran, Lebanon, you see a family torn apart, a dying loved one in their arms. They're surrounded by the earth, rubble, burned, the burned flesh of the earth everywhere. No life in sight. And you and I have pain back here in consumer land. We have a cancer epidemic here. We have heart attacks. The life expectancy is going down, down, down. The prison industrial complex is going up, up, up. And mysterious people are coming into our homes and tearing our families apart. They don't have to identify themselves. They have masks. Wherever the war is, whatever form it takes, the earth hurts. But you know, this is something we have to remember. We are the earth too. We're made of the material of the earth. We're made of the material of the earth. We are the earth. We are a walking ecosystem. And so therefore, the way that the earth is coming back into those pictures of those tragic families, the earth is coming back into that rubble, is already introducing peace into that family, into that town, into that. They are experiencing what we can experience too. Life can come into us here. Regardless of how bad it looks. Stop constructing ideas of hope by putting together combinations of politicians or something. That's all corrupt. Go to the earth. The earth is making peace all the time. In the face of the bombing, in the face of the fire, the earth is making peace right there. Peace is always possible. When you get up in the morning, you get out of bed. If you're sleeping on the subway bench and you wake up and there's a cop leaning over you and you're in trouble. However you get up, you have life in you. You have peace in you. Earth is evolving and never stops. Earth gives us life. Earth insists on life continuing. Earth is a survival expert. Earth gives us love, to make life. Life makes life. It's the most powerful force there is. The earth forgives. The earth moves. The earth has power. It goes back into the war. Ride that wave of peace and love back into wherever it's got to be. Remember, we are the earth. We are the earth. You and I, we're made of nothing but the earth. We're full of peace.
Hello, welcome to News from the Natural World. A severe rat infestation is spreading across Gaza, with reports of rodents biting residents, including infants, in their sleep. The crisis is largely attributed to collapsed infrastructure, overflowing trash, sewage, and overcrowded, unsanitary living conditions that create ideal breeding grounds for rats. Experts warn that the collapsed infrastructure and sanitation systems have exacerbated the issue, with over 25 million tons of rubble and damaged sewage systems providing fertile environments for pests. Rats were frequently observed in 80% of active displacement sites. The presence of rats increases the risk of diseases such as hantavirus, plague, rat fever, salmonella, and tularemia. Approximately 1.5 million Palestinians out of Gaza's 2.2 million population are currently living in makeshift shelters, including very worn tents, after 2.5 years of Israeli bombardment that has destroyed 80% of homes in the Strip. Due to the acute shortage of raw materials and Israel's ban on the entry of construction supplies, displaced families have been forced to build rudimentary sanitation systems, including latrines without sewage networks and barrels buried in the ground. Last month, UNRWA, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, confirmed the spread of rodents across displacement sites in its latest situation report on the humanitarian crisis in the Strip. It said there is an urgent need for pest control materials and chemicals to address the problem. The closure of crossings and Israeli restrictions on materials makes meaningful intervention extremely unlikely. A meaningful response would require rat poison, fuel, spare parts, and the heavy machinery needed to clear millions of tons of rubble and waste. Nutrients recovered from animal and human waste could drastically reduce synthetic fertilizer use in the U.S., according to a new Cornell University study that takes into account real-world implementation challenges like processing and transport. In a study in Nature Sustainability, researchers found that animal and human waste in the U.S. could theoretically meet 102% of nitrogen and 50% of phosphorus needs for the nation's agriculture, a value of more than $5.7 billion annually. But they also identified a major hurdle, a frequent mismatch between the location of the waste, often in areas densely populated with people or livestock, and agricultural regions with the highest fertilizer needs. Still, by mapping and analyzing the sources of waste and of agricultural need, the team found that large percentages of recoverable nutrients, 37% of nitrogen and 46% of phosphorus, can be used locally, and more than half of the surplus nutrients can be redistributed to nearby regions with low economic and environmental costs. Nitrogen and phosphorus play critical roles in ensuring healthy crops and maximizing agricultural yields. University of British Columbia researchers have developed a natural biodegradable wash that removes up to 96% of pesticide residue from fruit and slows browning and moisture loss. This could mean safer apples, grapes, and other fruit that also stays fresh and crisp for days longer. With rising food prices and nearly half of all fresh produce wasted worldwide each year, finding a way to cut pesticide exposure and reduce spoilage could have a big impact. The discovery of the oldest ever dog DNA suggests they have been friends to humans for nearly 16,000 years, 5,000 years earlier than had previously been thought. Dogs are most likely a mix of two types of gray wolves, though exactly when dogs diverged from wolves has been difficult to trace, partly because their ancient bones are hard to tell apart. The world's oldest canine DNA was discovered in a piece of skull in Pınarbaşı in what is now Turkey. The small female wolf-like dog lived roughly 15,800 years ago. Researchers have designed a simple solution to the persistent presence of arsenic in drinking water, an arsenic-removing tea bag. The system is inexpensive and highly effective, removing over 90% of the arsenic ions present. The idea came from the work of a high school intern named Vic Tan. One tea bag can remove at least 90% of the arsenic ions from water, and in one 6-hour test, more than 98% of arsenic was removed from 50 milliliters of contaminated water. A used tea bag can be rinsed, washed in alkaline solution, dried, and then reused up to 5 times. The cost to treat 1 liter of water is just 7 cents, considerably less than water treatment by reverse osmosis. Arsenic poisoning affects between 140 and 200 million people in approximately 50 countries. Summer weather is arriving earlier, lasting longer, and packing more heat than it used to, a trend that is happening faster than scientists had previously measured. A new study has found that between 1990 and 2023, the average summer between the tropics and the polar circles grew about 6 days longer per decade. For many cities, the numbers are even more striking. In Sydney, Australia, summer temperatures now last about 130 days, up from 80 days in 1990, adding 15 days per decade. Toronto summers are expanding by 8 days per decade. Researchers defined summer based on the weather rather than the calendar, the stretch of days each year when temperatures rise above what was historically typical for a given location during the warmest part of the year. Tiny organisms on the ground, bacteria and fungi, have a superpower that allows them to reach up into the atmosphere and pull down the rain. Most rain starts as ice. In the atmosphere, clouds are full of supercooled water, liquid that is colder than freezing but hasn't turned to ice yet because it has nothing to hold on to. For a cloud to turn into rain or snow, it needs a seed, a tiny particle for water molecules to grab onto so they can crystallize into ice, then fall from the clouds as rain. Dust, soot, and salt swept into the clouds by wind can do this, but they aren't very good at it. For decades, scientists have known about ice nucleating proteins, INPROs, found in certain bacteria. Bacteria travel from plant leaves into the clouds to trigger rain. They use special proteins to force water to freeze. A recent discovery published in the journal Science Advances has revealed a new factor in this process: fungal INPROs. These fungal proteins can force water to crystallize into ice. As these ice crystals grow, they become heavy and fall. As they drop through warmer air, they melt and turn into rain. This creates a loop. Fungi grow in the damp soil of a forest. Proteins from the fungi are swept into the sky. Rain is triggered by these proteins, watering the forest below, and growth of more fungi is triggered by the rain, starting the cycle over again. Unlike the bacteria, which use ice to attack and damage crops to access their nutrients, these fungi are peaceful plant partners. And now, the sounds of extinction. The Australian alpine ash tree. The Australian government recently listed the iconic alpine ash forests of mainland Australia as an endangered ecological community, citing ongoing threats from increasingly severe frequent bushfires and climate change. Alpine ash forests occur on high country slopes at elevations of about 3,000 to 5,000 feet. These culturally significant forests sit within the traditional lands of many First Nations peoples. Alpine ash, also known as Eucalyptus delegatensis, is a tall eucalypt with menthol-scented leaves. Alpine ash forests support a rich community of other plants and animals, including lyrebirds and spotted-tail quolls. The hollows of old-growth trees are important habitat for the critically endangered leadbeater's possum. The threat is not a loss of geographic extent, but because of a severe and ongoing decline in condition and function, and difficulty in recovering from bushfires. More than 80,000 hectares of forest were lost during the massive 2019-2020 summer bushfires. Alpine ash trees only reach reproductive maturity and produce viable seed at 20 years of age. More than half of the ecosystem is now structurally immature. Young forests are particularly vulnerable because they lack seed and can't naturally regenerate if exposed to repeated fires. And hear the sound of Australian bushfires.
Became slightly unstuck in time. Saw the late movie backwards, then forwards again. It was a movie about American bombers in the Second World War and the gallant men who flew them. Seen backwards by Billy, the story went like this. American planes, full of holes and wounded men and corpses, took off backwards from an airfield in England. Over France, a few German fighter planes flew at them backwards, sucked bullets and shell fragments from some of the planes and crewmen. They did the same for wrecked American bombers on the ground, and those planes flew up backwards to join the formation. The formation flew backwards over a German city that was in flames. The bombers opened their bomb bay doors, exerted a miraculous magnetism which shrunk the fires, gathered them into cylindrical steel containers, and lifted the containers into the bellies of the planes. The containers were stored neatly in racks. When the bombers got back to their base, the steel cylinders were taken from the racks and shipped back to the United States of America, where factories were operating night and day, dismantling the cylinders, separating the dangerous contents into minerals. Touchingly, it was mainly women who did this work. The minerals were then shipped to specialists in remote areas. It was their business to put them into the ground, to hide them cleverly, so they would never hurt anybody ever again.
Can public cry for peace? Give a billboard a bad time? Can a mile of smoking cars make a clear mind a cry? Tigers got to hunt, and birds got to fly. Is this our real darky? Is this our world, pure common
And Reverend Billy here on the C train. We'll be under the Hudson River just a moment. But I just want to say thank you and goodbye for now. I want to thank all the contributors to this half-hour Earth riot. Savitri D with her report from the Earth, and Jason Candler, our gatherer of the natural world with the unnatural world that you and I have created to make his soundscapes. We will be, this week is a big week for the Church of Stop Shopping. We will be, on Wednesday, I will be preaching for 24 hours from midnight to midnight. Wednesday, Earth Day, the 22nd. And I'm also want to invite you, those of you who get this in time and are anywhere near visiting New York or something, at noon, my preaching will be interrupted by a running event, a 5K, and people are dressing up like bankers and running around and around a certain bank, which this bank is the top financier of climate damage, climate violence, the bank that invests in projects that create the most greenhouse gas emissions. And that would be JP Morgan Chase. Year in and year out, the top fossil fuel bank, the killer of the earth. And we will be at its world headquarters between 47th and 48th Street, between Park Avenue and Madison Avenue. We'll be gathering at noon at the Madison Avenue entrance between 47th and 48th. And wear something banker-like. Some of my friends don't have any clothes like that, so they're just getting an old blue or black jacket from a local thrift store. And I'm under the Hudson River now with the squeaky wheels that are damaging my hearing. Fulton Street coming up. Thank you, everybody. Earth-alleluia. Have a wild Earth Week. Amen. Maybe we'll see some of you at the Chase Bank Wednesday. Come and keep me company. I'll be on the 47th Street side for 24 hours preaching. Just what everybody wanted. 24 hours of Reverend Billy preaching. Bye now.